Welcome back to the John Fourcade Show, and one of our John Fourcade specials this week, a 2015 F-150 Super Cab, $26,997. Again, one of our specials here on the John Fourcade Show, 2015 F-150 Super Cab, $26,997. Come on, man. Come on down to Veterans Ford. Welcome back to the John Fourcade Show, sponsored each week by Veterans Ford. John, one of the things I think will be brought up in the next few weeks leading up into the owners' meetings is the definition of a catch, which has been defined and redefined 40,000 different ways. And to be honest with you, every time there's a controversial play, they seem to come up with a new definition of what is a catch and what's not. They've got to make this simpler for the referees in this game and make it that it's easy. You know, we grew up, you knew what was a catch and what wasn't. Now today, once they go to replay with that, and we saw it in the Super Bowl, I still cannot believe that they did not overturn that play, which seemingly was a catch to me, and yet they would not overturn their guys on the field.
Mike, you and I grew up, and we all, even the guys who work in this production right here can tell you this. We all grew up, and I say this much. That ball touches the ground, that is not a catch. I don't care what anybody has to say.
We saw Greg Olsen make a catch during a fourth down play against the Saints. The nose of that football touched that ground.
I'm saying this. If you catch a football and it doesn't touch the ground, that is a catch. That ball hits the ground, I don't care what they say, movement, no movement, it's not, because the ball, in my eyes, that's helping you make the catch. It is keeping it secure. Once the ball, it has to go back to that. It has to go back to that, Mike. I think if it touches the ground, it's a no catch. That'll nip it in the butt right there. That ball moves, whatever. If it hits the ground, it's not a catch. That is my belief.
But then we've seen the Calvin Johnson catch and movement afterwards. The Des Bryant catch, and he stretches out and the ball comes out of his hands. That to me is where you get a lot of the undefinition of a catch. What Des caught in that playoff game, that was no question to me. That was a catch. You know, what was a football move and what's not a football move?
That's the other issue we got, a football move. You know, some are saying it's 2 feet down, or it's when you catch the ball and you make a movement. In your eyes, it could be a football move. If I'm doing a film or I'm replaying it, but my eyes, it might not be. So that's it's not the officials on the field, because basically once it's out of your hand, once you make the call on the field, it goes to the booth.
Or New York.
Or New York, whoever doing it that way. I mean, you know what? Let those guys be officiating the game from the booth then, if that's the way it's going to be. I don't know what a move is after being caught these days with a football. I don't know if the ball's in your hands touching the ground. You're right. It has got to be so simple now that get the thing over and done with. Say, this is how it's going to be. Set it by stone. It's in stone. That's what's got to be. But they're ruining some football games because of these. It goes back to one guy. It ain't the officials on the field. It's not the rule committee. It's the guy in the booth or New York. Whoever's making the final decision, man, that's the guy. We need to start posting his name up there. Dick Smith in the booth said this is not. Let him know who it is.
Also, too, is I think what has happened over the last few years, from Mike Pereira to Carl Johnson, now Dean Blandino, is now that they've gone with a lot of younger officials who seem to be a little bit happy throwing the flag. It wasn't that case years ago. You maybe caught a game that was sloppily played, but today, virtually, you can watch a game where there's 3 or 4 penalties and then there's 18 penalties. Come on, that's the crew itself, but I think you've seen the changeover now. From what you saw with Mike Pereira and Carl Johnson. Carl's a friend of mine, lives in Thibodeau, and now Blandino has taken over. Man, they are flag happy out on the field, and that's, to me, that's ruining the game more than anything.
They're not even letting these players play anymore. I mean, and we all know what it's about. You talk about mostly pass interference calls right now. You know the old rule of thumb for 25, 30 years ago. You can call holding on every play if you wanted to. Yes, they can. But I'll say this much: you can't call pass interference on every play. And let me say nothing, Mike. The ball's not catchable, there's no such thing as pass interference. I've seen pass interference, the ball's thrown 3 yards out of bounds, and they call it pass interference. If the ball is nowhere around the receiver, you can't call pass interference. Now, you can call holding before that, but it better be called holding. But you're calling pass interference when the ball's not catchable, it's not even in play, nowhere around the guy, but they want to use the word, oh, it's pass interference. And I think you need to go to the college rules. If you're going to call pass interference, it's got to be at 15 yards. You can't just give up 40-something yards because you don't know if the guy's going to catch it or not. So eliminate that. Let's make it easier. Go back to the 15-yard rule. But that's what you're calling it. You're mostly dealing with the guys who are happy throwing a flag or throwing the ones. the pass interference and the blows to the head or the shots, you need to start replaying that and really looking at that like they do in college ball. Pick the flag up because some of those guys were not hits to the head or shots,
or shoulder hits.
Shoulder hits,
yeah.
and they calling it above the neck. You got people, the guy catching the football, he's going to move. But if you hit him in the head, it's not your fault. The guy moved on it, but you get called for it.
One of the things too is Frank Lewis grew up in the home area where I live at, and very similar. He played double-digit seasons, won 2 Super Bowl rings with the Steelers, and finished out his career with Buffalo. One of the things he was telling me, man, with a receiver today, that he drops the ball over the middle, shame on him. You can't hit him high, you can't hit him low, and it's really the protection now of the quarterback and the receivers today. That was not there even 5 years ago. It's becoming really flag football in a lot of instances where you touch a quarterback a little bit too quick or a receiver a little bit too quick, the flag's coming out of there. And I think that too is part of the fantasy football world that they're catering to.
You're not supposed to cater to anybody. You're supposed to play
football. I think that's happening.
I mean, I look at it this way. I take a job at a certain place. I know the hazards could be there. I can lose a finger or whatever situation may be. You play football, you go across that middle or whatever, you're going to get popped, you're going to get hit. That's part of the business. I understand. You just can't protect 2 people and ruin the game of football, and that's what they're doing.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Also, too, certainly the big news in the last couple of weeks, week and a half, I guess, Peyton Manning's story about what happened at UT is being brought up. A lot of conversation about, is it the end of the trail for Peyton? Maybe the city of Los Angeles and the team with the Rams trying to get him to come in for 1 year to sell tickets. Man, you don't need to sell tickets. And for me, I think for Peyton, it's better off right off in the sunset now. You've got your 2nd Super Bowl ring as a winner. You've done so many things in this game. It's to ride off. To even consider coming back, I think would be a major mistake on his part.
I think so, Mike, because of the fact that they're not going to talk about him going to sign somewhere else, winning Super Bowls. It's going to be nothing about what just transpired in the last few weeks about this book that was written, what happened in Tennessee. He'd have to answer all these questions, go through all this, and not just for a period of time. It'd be a whole year that they have to answer. Right off of the sunset, you won 2 Super Bowls, it'll all die down. Just get away from this, you're done, retire.
We saw it with Brett Favre, with an incident that happened off the field, and now he's a pitch man for basically everything today. So it's redemption on Brett's part also too, as I think it'll be in a short period of time that Peyton Manning will have a group together that will buy the Tennessee Titans football team, and Peyton Manning will run that team just like John Elway is doing with the Denver Broncos. We'll be back with more of the John Fourcade Show, sponsored each week by Veterans Ford.